To really understand the empire of Elon Musk, we can't just look at his companies one by one. We have to see them as a single, deeply interconnected technological ecosystem.
So, right off the bat, this is not your classic conglomerate, where different businesses are just held under one big corporate roof. No. What's being built here is a system where every single piece is designed to connect with and reinforce all the others. And the best way to think about it, a concept pulled straight from our sources, is as a vertically integrated innovation engine. Basically, think of each company as a gear in a much, much larger machine. A machine that's designed to build and control the foundational technologies of our future. So, to get how that engine actually works, we first have to look at its individual parts. Let's break down the key companies and the specific job each one has in this grand design. Okay, so each piece here has a purpose that goes way beyond its own industry. Tesla, it's not just about cars. It's the financial backbone and a massive supplier of real-world hardware and data. SpaceX and Starlink are literally building the global transport and data infrastructure. Then you have X, which provides a real-time fire hose of human data, and of course, a powerful tool for shaping opinion. XAI is the brain, the strategic intelligence layer that connects everything. And finally, you've got Neuralink, acting as the bridge to the human mind, with the Boring Company there to round out the physical mobility vision. But here's the really brilliant part. These components don't just sit next to each other. They're actually designed to feed and accelerate one another in this incredibly powerful feedback loop. And this is where the true strategy really starts to become clear. The concept driving all of this is what our sources are calling a multi-industry flywheel. It's a strategy where a breakthrough in one area, let's say battery technology at Tesla, doesn't just stay there. It gets shot over into another part of the ecosystem, like powering Starlink ground stations, which then speeds up progress there, creating this amazing self-reinforcing momentum. And this slide lays out that flywheel perfectly. Step 1. You start with the foundation, the infrastructure from SpaceX and Starlink. Step 2. On top of that, Tesla provides the physical hardware and collects just unbelievable amounts of real-world data. Step 3. All that data gets fed into the brain of the operation, XAI. Step 4, Neuralink then provides the interface between that intelligence and us. And finally, step 5, Tesla Energy comes in to provide autonomous power for the whole system, closing the loop and making the entire thing self-reliant. Let's look at a perfect, tangible example. This isn't just some solar farm. These are Tesla megapacks. And what are they doing? They're being used to power the incredibly energy-hungry data centers for XAI and the launch sites for SpaceX. It's a perfect closed loop where one part of the empire is literally fueling another. So this quote from one of our sources really just sums it all up perfectly. It lays out the entire stack, from physical transport up in space all the way down to the direct interface with human thought. It is a complete end-to-end vision for, well, a new kind of technological organism. Now, an empire this integrated and this powerful doesn't just exist in a business vacuum. It inevitably becomes a major player on the world stage. And that's where the lines between a CEO and a head of state start to get really blurred. This whole situation raises some pretty pointed questions. Musk himself was asked directly if he wields more influence than the US government. I mean, just pause on that for a second. How would you even begin to answer that? His answer? In some ways, that is not a denial. It's an acknowledgement of a new reality. A reality where critical global infrastructure isn't controlled by a state, but by an individual. This reality has led analysts in our sources to use a really striking term for it, techno-feudal lord. It describes a private citizen who can act as an arbiter in a war, like we saw with Starlink in Ukraine, and who controls infrastructure so vital that entire governments become dependent on their goodwill. And of course, this kind of power is viewed from a lot of different angles. On one hand, as this cartoon on the left shows, you have the perception of one person gaining control over the key pillars of modern society: space, government, and AI. But on the other hand, critics, represented by the cartoon on the right, point to a sharp political shift after the acquisition of Twitter and an alignment with populist movements. Our sources provide some very concrete examples of this influence. He's been described as a potential senior advisor in a future US administration. He's faced accusations of platforming misinformation and supporting autocrats. His decision to either provide or withhold Starlink service was a pivotal factor in the Ukraine war, leading one Pentagon official to say, and I'm quoting here, "We're living off his goodwill." The bigger concern is the creation of a new kind of public square, driven by tech magnates, that operates outside of traditional checks and balances. This brings us to the central tension of this whole empire, this immense potential for good set right against an equally immense risk. It is a true double-edged sword. So let's just lay this out. The potential is staggering. An integrated ecosystem that can make huge civilizational leaps, from sustainable energy to solving massive global problems. But the flip side is the risk. The entire structure is intensely dependent on one person. It's in constant conflict with regulators all over the world, and, as our sources note, it has the potential to become more powerful and sometimes more dangerous than entire nations. And the scale of the ambition here is almost hard to wrap your head around. Tesla's Master Plan 3 alone, which lays out a path to a sustainable global energy economy, would require a manufacturing investment of $10 trillion. That's the level of civilizational engineering we're talking about. The critical takeaway is that when you concentrate this much technological, financial, and political power into a single, interconnected structure, you create something entirely new. The sources warn that this concentration itself, regardless of the intent behind it, poses a fundamental risk. So, what we're witnessing isn't just the growth of a few successful companies. It's the construction of a new type of power structure, one with the potential to solve humanity's greatest challenges, but whose very concentration and unaccountability carry risks of an equally historic scale.